Good morning from beautiful Kotor here in Montenegro.
It is looking like it's going to be a spectacular day. The weather could not be any better. We are just docking now and we've got around about 15 minutes until our organised excursion discovering the highlights of Montenegro.
It was a really early start this morning. We were up about 20 past 6 just to watch the beautiful sailing into Montenegro, and then we are off on our excursion at 8 a.m. So for us, it is middle of the night time.
It's very early. Yesterday we had a superb day exploring Dubrovnik. We walked the walls, we did it all independently, and then during the evening we had a fantastic specialty meal. I've got to say, one of the best we've ever had on board a cruise ship.
So much food, and all of it was of a high standard.
This morning then we watched the magnificent sailing into Kotor, and wow, we were impressed. It's very much fjord-like, and there are narrow little passages that the ship has to sail through.
And now take a look at some of these spectacular views as we are docking. What an amazing place to live. For breakfast this morning we decided to head on up to the buffet.
Yeah, we didn't want to miss any of these beautiful views. The buffet was quiet. I think it's because it's a little bit early for most people this morning.
So I decided to go for a hot breakfast today. I had sausage, bacon, beans and hash brown. It was perfect just while I was sitting outside enjoying the views.
And I had some cereal and also some pancakes, which were delicious. And again, we sat out towards the aft of the ship and just took in all of the great scenery.
Now there's lots of noise going on in the background. The church bell seemed to be ringing. There's an announcement on the ship. So I think this ship has definitely made its presence in Montenegro felt.
We're now going to go to our designated meetup station for our excursion.
After we left you, we waited for around half an hour because we were a little bit later docking than we expected, but in no time at all we were down and on board our coach ready for today's trip. As you can see, the excursion is already spectacular. This is a view of Kotor right from the top of the mountains in Montenegro.
Getting off Celestyal Journey was a breeze. We just had to scan our cruise cards, and before we got onto the coach we did have to show our excursion tickets, which we picked up on our embarkation day.
Once we were all on board, the coach wasn't actually 100% full. There were 2 coaches offering this trip today, so that was great. We didn't feel too squashed in at all. And then we headed off on an absolutely momentous drive around 25 hairpin bends all the way up to the top of the mountain here, where we have currently stopped and we've enjoyed a little break.
The drive up was beautiful and those views were unparalleled. Yes, it was a little bit heart racing in certain places because the road was built over 100 years ago and it is a UNESCO heritage site.
We did have the opportunity for one short stop where we could take some panoramic photographs. Literally we stopped for around 5 minutes, grabbed a photo, back onto the coach, and then we arrived here in the restaurant right on top of the mountains where we were treated to some sandwiches. They consisted of prosciutto and local cheese, as well as drinks. You could choose between local beer, local wine or soft drinks, and we went for the wine, of course.
Yes, it is a little bit early. Looking at my watch now, it's only around about 10:30, but I suppose when in Montenegro, while we were eating these delicious sandwiches and sipping our wine, we just blown away by the breathtaking beauty.
Luckily the weather has once again been on our side.
So now we're going to get back on the coach and head to our next destination on this organised celestial excursion.
And we are back in Kotor after our fantastic tour of the highlights of Montenegro. Now when we last left you, we were in that restaurant right up on the mountainside. Well, now we're back down in Kotor and it has taken us roughly about an hour and a half to get back down here.
After the pit stop at the restaurant where we had a lovely little sandwich and a drink and treated to those beautiful views, we did stop off at one of Montenegro's smallest cities. This used to be the capital of Montenegro many years ago. There were a few little cafes and bars strewn around the main square area, as well as a number of tourist shops. We were only there for around about 30 minutes just to have a quick look around, and then we had to get back on the coach because we needed to get back to Kotor for our walking tour. On the way back we we did take a different route that was a little bit quicker. Again, some beautiful views as we're driving. Lots of roadworks though, so we were held up in traffic that we were pre-warned about when booking this excursion.
Yes, we passed the lovely city of Budva also on the way back. That looked fantastic. There were lots of hotels there though, so you could tell that was a real holiday destination. Then it wasn't too long before we arrived back here in Kotor. Just before we arrived into the city, our guide did hand us out some what they call whispers, which are the boxes that you can hear your guide talking to with a little earpiece in as well. So we popped those in and then headed off to explore the city. Once we left the coach to get to the city, it only took us around 5 minutes. We went under the underpass, which has escalators, and then through the main city gates.
The old city is surrounded by beautiful walls that used to protect it many years ago. There are lots of bars, cafes and hotels in the old walled town. We did have a walking tour through and we looked at many of the sites such as the old churches.
Yes, there are lots of different churches from many different periods in the history of Kotor, including Greek Orthodox churches. Some of the churches are payable, others are free to enter, so make sure you check that before heading in.
After the walking tour, we quickly nipped into one of the tourist shops and picked up our Patreon postcards. Yes, Patreons, your postcards have been written and posted, so hopefully you'll have them by now. We then decided just to sit down, admire the beautiful scenery from within the walled town and grab ourselves a little drink in one of the bars there. I had a lovely pint of local beer, Tom had a coffee, and really surprisingly, it only came to €7. What a contrast to Dubrovnik yesterday.
Yes, much cheaper here, so we'd recommend if you were going to stop in any of the old cities on this itinerary, Kotor is a great option. Then after we'd finished our drinks, we then headed to the only free part of the city walls that you can walk on. The other areas of the city walls are relatively steep, and to reach the top we have been advised that it could take up to an hour up and an hour back down, so that is quite a long time. So instead, here we are on the city walls now, about to head back to the ship, as you can see behind us, because we've got lots planned again this afternoon. And we are back in the room after a fantastic time exploring Kotor. Now, when we last left you, we were on the city walls. After that, we headed straight back on the ship. We got on the ship with no problems at all. Not a single person in the queue. Straight through the cruise terminal, straight onto the ship. Not a single queue inside.
It was a really smooth process getting back on the ship. Our Kotor experience and excursion was superb. We've got to give a shout out to our tour guide. He was fantastic, really thorough, was constantly asking if we had any questions, and we'd ask him something and he knew the answer straight away. Really good. While we were walking around Kotor, we did notice that there were a lot of cats, so we did ask the question, what's going on? And apparently Kotor is renowned for its wild cats. The residents of the walled town all look after and feed and care for the cats, so there are plenty wandering around.
They originally were brought to Kotor in order to solve the rat problem. That has long gone and the cats have remained. Once we were back on board, we headed straight up to that indoor pool area where Dom needed a couple more slices of pizza, and we also tried some of the gyros. We tried one pork and one chicken, as well as a couple of slices of pizza.
Today's pizza was roast chicken.
Once again, the pizza changes every single day with different toppings on, but the gyros remains the same as the choice between chicken or pork, so we tried a bit of everything. We also grabbed a couple of drinks from the bar, sat down, enjoyed our meal. Great little quick snack there when you return back from an excursion.
The Greek Grill is a fantastic spot to grab a quick bite to eat, whether it's pizza or gyros, especially in between lunch and dinner, because here on Celestyal Journey, during those periods, the buffet and the main dining rooms are closed.
And then we headed out to the aft pool deck, ready for sail away. Now, the weather had turned a little bit and there was a couple of rumbles of thunder and a few spots of rain out on the aft pool deck, but that did not stop the festivities. Me and Dom sat down, relaxed, got chatting to a few of our fellow passengers, and it wasn't long before the sail away party started.
It was a really fun, lively experience. You had lots of the entertainment staff out on deck, as well as members of the production team, all dancing and encouraging guests to do so as well.
Lots of different party dances with everyone getting involved. There was a great vibe at the aft pool deck.
Unfortunately, we could not stay because we had a pre-arranged experience.
Yes, because on embarkation day we had arranged to go to a wine tasting event, and that was being held in the Symphonium right down on deck 7.
The Symphonium, excuse my pronunciation, is a multi-use space where conferences and events can be held, and today that's exactly where our wine tasting was.
We walked up to the entrance of the Symphonium and we were greeted by rows of tables that were laid out with wine glasses as well as little snacks.
These snacks were designed to accompany each of the wines perfectly, and I can assure you they did.
We were then introduced by our host of today's wine tasting to all the sommeliers on board who serve us in the restaurants.
Here on Celestyal, one great feature in all of the restaurants, you will find a sommelier that deals specifically with your wine choices.
We were then told that today we would be tasting 6 different wines, 2 white, 1 rosé and 3 red. The wine tasting was very thorough, with our guide taking us through everything from colour to body all the way through tasting, and of course what those wines could be paired with.
It was a fascinating insight into the world of wines. Tom and I do enjoy a couple of glasses of wine, but we've never really thought about its origins and everything that goes into making the wine, and this did really give us a great insight into aromas, taste and how to pair each particular wine with food.
Then me and Dom both had different favourites. My favourite was the second white wine that came from the Alsace region, and I thought that was really crisp, just about right for me on a nice warm sunny day.
My favourite was number 4. It was a full-bodied red with great aromas, and it paired really nicely with cheese.
At the end of the wine tasting event, our host did open up the floor for any questions. There was a few questions asked by some of the members of the audience, as well as them giving us some time then to enjoy the rest of the wines. Also, there was a special offer where you could purchase any of the wines that we had tasted for a discount.
The wine tasting lasted a full hour. It cost us €19 per person, and we think this is excellent value for the amount of wine, snacks and information that we received during the event.
Well, after the wine tasting we were feeling a little bit sleepy, so after a very early morning and a busy day in port, as well as copious amounts of wine, me and Dom did need a little nap. So yes, that's exactly what we did. We headed to the room and had a little hour's nap, then got ourselves ready for dinner, which we headed down to at 8 p.m.
Again, our designated dining room for this cabin is the Smoked Olive restaurant. We were seated straight away, really nice table. The waiter came along with a bread basket and some water. We opted to go for a bottle of still. This actually cost us €4 with a 10% service charge, because here on Celestyal Journey there is a 10% service charge added to each transaction. The sommelier then came over and we did ask him if he could recommend us a wine, which he did, and when he delivered it to the table it was fantastic.
Yeah, a lovely glass of red that went with our meal perfectly. Then it wasn't long before another waiter came along and took our food order. Now, to start with, tonight I went for the chicken soup. It was filled with pieces of chicken that was super tasty. He also offered some pepper onto the soup, and that really added to the flavour.
And to start, I had a clear vegetable soup. Yes, it was a clear soup, however it was so flavoursome. There were plenty of vegetables mixed in, and I can highly recommend it.
Then it was on to our main courses, where I went for the lamb. It was roast lamb that came with grilled vegetables, and I found the lamb okay. It was a little bit fatty for me, but definitely flavourful, but Not my favourite meal so far, so I was glad that we also ordered a second meal for the table, which was the pasta kiko. Now we found this the best option out of the three. We think we tried a little bit of it earlier on in the week in the buffet, but tonight, fresh, piping hot, super tasty. It reminded us a little bit of a lasagna.
What's great here on Celestyal is, in addition to the standard menu items, they always have a Greek option, and this was the Greek option for this evening, and yes, it was really good, and there was no problems in ordering one for the table so that we could share. For my main, I went for the pork. Now this came with a mustard style sauce, some potatoes, and I've got to say I was a little bit apprehensive because I'm not the biggest fan of mustard, but it was beautiful and I ate the lot. The pork was cooked to perfection. Yeah, thumbs up from me.
And then the best part of the meal for me was the chocolate lava cake. This was truly indulgent, packed full of dark chocolate. I also opted to have some vanilla ice cream with it. The hot chocolate lava cake went perfectly well with some vanilla cold ice cream. 100% would recommend this dish.
And for my dessert, I went for the tiramisu. Came with some fruit coulis on the plate as well as some whipped cream. Absolutely delicious. It was so light and fluffy. I could have eaten another slice. In addition to that, I also had some vanilla ice cream as well. All very, very good.
Now we wrapped dinner up and then headed to the Blue Bar once again, where we took a seat at the bar and spoke to the fantastic waiter there, Daniel, who once again recommended us to try another 2 cocktails. Now we're working our way through that cocktail list, and tonight again we tried 2 different cocktails off the Alchemy cocktail list. These are priced at €15 per cocktail, and we think they're great value because they are all hand mixed.
It's a great experience to sit there and just watch this creation appear in front of you. The crew at the Blue Bar are incredibly talented mixologists.
Now my cocktail tonight was the Dreams Bucket List, and let me tell you, it looked like a piece of art. It did look exactly like the picture. It was filled with foam, packed with ice, and the taste was amazing. Really, really could not fault this cocktail.
And I went for the fruity cocktail. It was beautifully presented, as all of the cocktails have been. It came with a piece of passion fruit, which was edible, and I ate it.
Daniel even gave you a little spoon to eat out the centre of that passion fruit.
The drink itself was delicious. You could definitely taste the alcohol. A really great cocktail that I could easily order again and again.
Now whilst we were drinking our cocktails, there was a 3-piece Greek band on as well in the Blue Bar, playing all sorts of traditional style Greek music. It felt very authentic and we really enjoyed sitting there, sipping those cocktails, enjoying the Greek music. What more could you want?
At 10 o'clock it was the second performance of tonight's show, the Dancing Road Show. So we made our way straight over to the main theatre. We got a seat really quickly, even though the theatre was still quite busy.
Now the seating in the theatre is split over 2 levels. Once again we decided to sit on the lower level, and there is waiter service within the theatre itself, so we did order a couple of gin and tonics while we were watching the theatre show. Now tonight's show was a trip around the world, looking at different countries' cultures through song and dance, and we had a fantastic time. Particularly loved the Spanish flamenco dancing and also the bit where the Chinese dragon appeared.
It was a really unique experience to see a variety of songs and dances from different parts of the world.
So all in all, we had a fantastic time.
Every evening a daily programme is delivered to your cabin. This is in English for us because we speak English, however it's printed in multiple different languages. We wanted to find out about the times for our excursion tomorrow in Bari. These are printed on the daily planners, so we quickly nipped to the cabin just to see what time our excursion was in the morning so we could plan the rest of our evening. And again, it's an early excursion and we are planning to leave the ship at 8:15.
As a result, we thought we'd have one last evening drink, so we headed to the Cafe Nation bar where we had a couple of cocktails. I had myself a Cosmopolitan and you had
a Mai Tai.
And we sat there chatting to some of our fellow passengers, roughly for about 45 minutes before we thought now's time for bed, because otherwise we will struggle to get up in the morning.
While we were in Cafe Nation, the duo that played in there were incredible. People were up on the dance floor dancing. Tom and I were clapping and singing along, and we've got to say the atmosphere in Cafe Nation of an evening is really upbeat, happy, lots of people dancing and singing.
Yes, every time we walk past there of the evening there always seems to be people on the dance floor. I think there's a nice little group that have got together that enjoy dancing to the duo in Cafe Nation, so we would recommend heading there, grabbing yourself a drink and joining in.
So we made our way back to the cabin, and it didn't take us long to get to sleep at all. We've had an incredible day in Kotor, such a beautiful part of the world. Those views over Kotor from our excursion were just incredible.
And being back on board and enjoying another fantastic night of food and entertainment, we've had a great day. We're absolutely shattered, so time for bed. So tomorrow we can enjoy Bari in Italy. Yes, we're heading to Italy tomorrow.
Another port that we've never visited before. We do have an excursion planned. We're going to visit some caves and also a cliff top town.
So make sure you join us on our next vlog to see how we get on as we visit Italy and have a fun packed evening on board Celestyal Journey.
Thanks for watching our day in Kotor on Celestyal Journey. If you've got any comments or questions, just pop them in the box below and we'll get back to you. If you'd like to support us in creating future content and receiving exclusive benefits, we're also available on Patreon and through YouTube channel memberships.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching. We've got lots more content available on our YouTube channel, so press that subscribe button. If you're interested in receiving daily updates, we're available on most social media platforms. Just search for Tom and Dom Travel.